Welcome to another episode of Favorite Fallout Characters. This episode is about a character that I really did not start to appreciate until my last playthrough of Fallout 2 and my last playthrough of Fallout New Vegas. And that character's name is Marcus. So let's get started, and by the way, there will be minor spoilers, so you have been warned. This is a video about a character, so expect spoilers. Marcus made his first appearance in Fallout 2 as the Sheriff, the law of a place called Broken Hills. This area is unique in the fact that super mutants and humans coexist, not in harmony because there are some paranoid motherfuckers running around trying to plot against Marcus, but for the most part it's peaceful. When I first played Fallout 2, I was pretty shocked to see humans walking around next to super mutants and no damn firefight happening or people going nuts, and this is where you meet Marcus. Unlike some super mutants, Marcus let go of his hatred of humans and learned that some of us are good people, but it wasn't always like that. Marcus was a member of the Master's super mutant army, and after the Master was wiped out, the super mutants were left to wander around without any guidance or direction, no leader to follow, and no meaning in life. Marcus wandered aimlessly until he was attacked by Jacob. Jacob was a member of the Brotherhood of Steel. Now it turned into a bit of a stalemate, and after days of fighting they just said fuck it, what is the damn point? And in the aftermath of a crazy battle, mutual respect turned into friendship. Then something interesting happened. People started to follow them, and as Marcus puts it, I guess they figured if they weren't safe with a mutie and Steel Knight, safe wasn't going to happen. And Marcus knew about a certain area with a uranium mine, and they figured this was a good place to settle, and that's how Broken Hills came to be. Now, even though Marcus had made peace with humans, and has no irrational ill will towards someone just because they are a human, he is still somewhat sympathetic to the Master's view of the world, which really threw me off when I first heard that. He was telling me that no matter how many decent humans are there will always be the majority, and they will always ruin it, no matter what government comes into rule or anything like that. And it's kind of like a nihilistic view of humankind, and I have to admit, he does make a good point. I mean, the Master's way wasn't going to work because forcing people to be super mutants isn't a good idea, and super mutants can't have kids. But you gotta look at it through the eyes of someone that has the ability to live a long time, and I don't mean long like 50 years, I mean long like a very long time. But think about what he's been through. He was in the Master's army and he watches the Master's plan fail. Then he befriends a good human being and they formed the town of Broken Hills. But what happened in all those years? Nothing. He just watched everything and it stayed the same. The Master was taken out because he was evil, and forcing people to turn into super mutants wasn't the way. But did the humans have a great solution? No. It's just the same old. God damn, I try to be optimistic and I try to have a good attitude towards these things, but listening to myself, I'm a bit of a nihilist. But Marcus does have a good point though. What has happened in all those years in the Fallout universe? The more things quote unquote change, the more things stay the same. Now, depending on your actions in Fallout 2, you can help or hurt Marcus. It depends on who you side with in that town. Marcus's journey doesn't end after Fallout 2, there's more to it, but before we move on to the next part of Marcus's life, I have some things to say. When I first played Fallout 2, I swore that Marcus was going to turn on me at some point. I was expecting it. After hearing him still sympathizing a bit with the Master, I had a weird feeling that he was just going to say fuck it at some point and open fire on me with that damn minigun. That's why I didn't want him as a companion at first. I rarely used any companions during my first playthrough, but I avoided him. It was my first time playing and I was barely getting by. The last thing I needed was to fight off some Enclave members and have Marcus decide to turn on me. Seriously, just imagine it. Imagine yourself playing the game for the first time, not knowing what the fuck you are doing, and you're dying more than you thought you would. And when you get to a certain point, aka when you see Enclave soldiers, Marcus decides to turn on you. Now of course that doesn't happen, but that was going through my mind, and all I was thinking was, I'm fighting 4 Enclave members, and if this giant super mutant decides to fuck me up with a minigun, I'm done. I've been jumped before, multiple times, in real life. It's not fun. I can't handle the heartbreak of a companion doing it. It's just too much for my glass heart. I can't handle it. Okay, seriously, what the hell was that? But seriously, I was dead wrong about Marcus because he turned out to be a great companion. He kicks ass in fights, even though that minigun can be annoying because you can get hit with friendly fire and that sucks, but other than that, he's great. I was very suspicious of Marcus at first, but I found out that whoever wrote him, they wrote him to be a loyal character. He's good-natured and he's very blunt. He doesn't feed you bullshit, he doesn't sugarcoat anything, he tells you how he feels, and that's something I like in characters, and in real life too. I like when someone's very blunt. And think about this, even though he's a super mutant and he was in the super mutant army, he has more humanity than a lot of people in the wasteland. A super mutant with more humanity in him than like half the wasteland. Think about that. Now let's move on to the next part of Marcus's life. Now Marcus decided to move on from Broken Hills and eventually made an old resort into an area called Jacobstown. Jacobstown is located in the Mojave Desert. Yes, Fallout New Vegas in the year 2281. It's a safe haven for regular super mutants and Nightkins. It was named after his friend that died long ago. The Nightkin are under strict rules to control their issues with schizophrenia. There's no stealth boys allowed. And Marcus is desperately trying to find a cure for the Nightkin mental issues, along with a former Enclave scientist named Dr. Henry. It's a tough balance. The Nightkin have their own hierarchy and leader they look up to, and they don't like being seen. That's why they rely on stealth boys. So Marcus has to keep the town safe from outsiders that want to harm them, and keep the Nightkin from going insane. It's similar to his role as the sheriff of Broken Hills. When you talk to Marcus now, not much has changed. He still has the same view of human nature, and he makes a comment about Kaiser's Legion not following ideals, but Kaiser, and when he dies, the Legion will fall apart because of greed, jealousy, and other things related to human nature. I can't blame him for thinking that. One thing I did notice is that this time around, instead of trying to build a place where humans and mutants coexist, it's more of a place for super mutants to live in peace. Some exceptions are made, like Dr. Henry, but he's focused on helping his own kind instead of trying to balance out the relationship between humans and super mutants. He doesn't hate humans and he wants to be friendly with them, but he's more focused on trying to find a cure for the Nightkin's issues. Now, the next part depends on what you do as a player. There are multiple endings for Jacobstown, but I'm gonna go with the great ending. You solved the Nightkin's issues with schizophrenia, and Jacobstown became a place for all super mutants and Nightkin to live in harmony. Hearing Marcus read that at the end slideshow, it was really calming. I don't know how Marcus is going to be handled in the official lore in the future. I personally hope they just leave him alone. I don't think he needs to be in any future Fallout games. Maybe a reference here and there about him finding peace in Jacobstown and living out the rest of his days there, that's perfect. But just like Harold, I just think they need to leave him alone. Their time is done, they did what they had to do, and just move on and make other characters. Now overall, Marcus is an important character in the Fallout series to me. He's very interesting. I don't know if there's any underlying commentary. I'm probably looking too deep into this like I always do with Fallout lore, but think about this. As I said before, he's a super mutant. He was in a super mutant army. He was killing humans that did not want to be turned into one of them, and he was helping the Master make a super mutant army. Then he befriends a human. Then he makes a place and becomes the sheriff of Broken Hills, and now Jacobstown. Think about that. Like I said before, a super mutant has more humanity in him than like 70% of the people in the Fallout universe. He's like a wise sage that once was a brute monster, but then turned into something that most humans strive for, to be decent. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. You can leave a comment if you want to. Let me know how you feel. Have a great day.